Tuna woke up dizzy, her head throbbing as if someone had hammered directly into her memories. Before her was a sky dappled with sunlight filtering through the leaves, while beneath her lay the cold, damp ground. She tried to remember who she was, why she was there, but her mind was a terrifying blank. All her memories seemed to have been erased, leaving only a feeling of confusion and fear creeping through her body. A strange sound echoed in the distance, startling Tuna, her heart pounding. Instinct told her not to trust anyone, not to follow strangers. She staggered to her feet, still dizzy from the earlier impact with the rocks, then unconsciously stepped deeper into the forest. The further she went, the dimmer the light became, darkness engulfing everything around her. It was getting dark. A sudden, overwhelming fear gripped her. Deep in the forest, alone, without memories, with no one beside her, Tuna felt utterly insignificant and hopeless. But then, in that panic, a thought flashed through her mind. She had to survive. She bent down to pick up dry branches, her hands trembling with cold and fear. The forest night was eerily silent. Only her own ragged breathing could be heard. Tuna vaguely remembered how ancient people made fire. 2 stones struck together, a small, weak spark flew. She persevered, each breath harmonizing with each tap. When the small flame finally flared up, the warm light reflected in her tear-filled eyes. She hugged her knees, sitting close to the fire, warming her body while trying to soothe the loneliness gnawing at her soul. In that moment, Tuna didn't remember who she was, but she knew that, at all costs, she had to live on. Early the next morning, while a thin, cold mist still hung over the sky, Alex awoke after a night of near sleeplessness. The image of Tuna haunted him every second, the anxiety tightening in his chest, suffocating him. He feared she was panicking, that she was lost somewhere alone, and most of all, he feared the terrible things that he dared not name. Alex hastily threw on his coat and left the house in the faint light of dawn. Before leaving, he stopped and grasped his mother's hand, his voice hoarse with exhaustion and worry. He instructed her to stay home, wait for news from the police, and to report any clues about Tuna to him immediately. His eyes held a fragile glimmer of hope, as if a single phone call could save his world. Leaving the house, Alex hurried down the deserted street. Each step was a silent prayer. In his heart, fear and love intertwined, compelling him to find her at all costs. Before it was too late, Alex entered the forest as the sun was just rising over the mountains, its weak light filtering through the dense foliage. The damp, cold air clung to his body, but that was nothing compared to the growing unease within him. Each step deeper into the forest put Alex at risk, yet he didn't hesitate. Only one name occupied his mind: Tuna. The deep forest was eerily silent. Only the crunching of dry leaves underfoot and his rapidly beating heart could be heard. Alex repeatedly called her name, his voice echoing and then fading into the vast emptiness. As if the forest had swallowed all hope, he found a few vague traces, a broken branch, some footprints in the mud, but all were too fragile to confirm they belonged to her. Each time hope flickered, it quickly vanished, leaving him with a painful emptiness. The deeper he went, the darker and denser the forest became. The trails gradually disappeared, replaced by thorny bushes and slippery rocks. Alex nearly fell several times, his hands bleeding from gripping the sharp branches, but he didn't stop. The image of Tuna, alone, lost and terrified, flashed through his mind, making his heart ache. He blamed himself. If only he had been there sooner. If only he could have protected her from everything. Time dragged on heavily. The sun rose higher and then began to set, but there was still no sign of Tuna. The prolonged silence filled Alex with despair. He stood silently in the forest, breathing heavily, his eyes red with exhaustion and worry. A vague fear crept in. Had he arrived too late? But then Alex clenched his fists, taking a deep breath. Even without finding her, he knew he couldn't give up. Deep in that desolate forest, he silently vowed to himself that he would continue searching, because as long as there was even a glimmer of hope, he wouldn't let Tuna be alone for another second. Alex had only taken a few more steps when his phone suddenly rang, shattering the suffocating silence of the deep forest. His heart leaped. On the other end was a man's urgent voice, saying that a local had seen a girl resembling Tuna in the forest below, near the dry stream. That single sentence was enough to send Alex's whole body trembling. Hope flared up intensely, so powerfully that he forgot all fatigue and danger. Without a second's thought, Alex sped out of the forest, hastily starting his motorbike. The wind lashed against his face, the rough dirt road vibrated under the wheels, but all he could do was accelerate. In his mind, he only saw Tuna waiting, perhaps frightened, perhaps desperate. He had to get there, immediately. But fate was crueler than he imagined. A slippery bend in the road caused the wheels to veer off course. Alex only felt a violent impact, his body thrown onto the road. The sound of metal hitting stone echoed sharply, then everything plunged into darkness. The phone fell to the ground, its screen still lit, and Alex lay motionless, his consciousness slowly fading in that fragile moment between hope and despair. Just as Alex lay motionless by the deserted forest path, amidst the silence of only the wind and rustling leaves, an old woman silently appeared. She was an elderly healer, her back hunched, carrying a bundle of herbs on her shoulder, her hands weathered by years of gathering leaves to heal. She stopped when she saw the unconscious young man, his face pale, his forehead bleeding. Her heart tightened. She urgently called out, her hoarse voice echoing through the deep forest. "Is anyone there?" But only a chilling silence answered. Not a soul, not a reply. In that moment, she understood that if she left, the young man might not survive the night. Without further hesitation, she knelt down and checked Alex's breath. Still weak, but still there. She breathed a sigh of relief, gave him some water, and then, with all her strength, struggled to support his heavy body. Each step brought a pause for breath, but her gaze remained resolute. For her, saving lives wasn't a choice, but her purpose in life. The winding, steep mountain path finally revealed a small, simple wooden house hidden amidst the misty forest. She carried Alex inside, laid him down on the old bed, the flickering oil lamp illuminating her anxious face. In that moment, in the desolate mountains, Alex's fate was saved by the quiet kindness of an old doctor. She gently laid Alex down on the wooden bed, adjusting his position so he could breathe more easily. Looking at the still bleeding scratches on his hands and forehead, she sighed softly, not out of fear, but out of pity. Without delay, she lit the fire, the flames illuminating her thin but steady figure. She placed familiar handfuls of herbs into the pot, her hands working skillfully as if she had repeated this task her whole life. The herbal decoction gradually boiled, its pungent aroma filling the small room. She poured some of the medicine into a bowl, let it cool, then used a clean cloth to gently wipe each of Alex's wounds. Each movement was slow and careful, as if afraid of causing him more pain. She patiently helped Alex drink the remaining medicine in small sips, her eyes watching his faint reactions. When everything was done, she pulled the blanket over him, letting him rest in the flickering oil lamp. A firm belief welled up in her heart. With her skills and experience, she believed that if the patients simply drank the herbal medicine she prepared and allowed their body to rest, everything would be fine by tomorrow morning.